Am I recording? Yes. What up? It's your girl, and we are back with another video. So I realized that on this channel, I can only make, I believe, no longer than 15 minutes. So with that standard in mind, I'm going to stick to that. Okay, so this video is going to be clear and concise and as informative and on track as I possibly can be. Okay, so today we're actually going to talk about the term gaslighting, but we're also going to look at what I would say a real life example, because I like to use real life examples, and I like to teach in real life time, or pretty much like how I use the camera to show you. So let's get into it, okay? First, let's start here. All right, you guys, I want you guys to look at this picture and tell me what you see. Do you see a duck or do you see a rabbit? Now, let's look at this picture, right? Do you see 3 or do you see 4? And in this picture, I think it's a great example because, it depends on what side you're standing on, what perspective, right? So for instance, let me give you a perfect example. You have a higher probability of adopting the same cultural beliefs, or maybe let's say religious practices, of those that are in your surrounding environment, right? So for instance, if you're born in a different part of the region of the world, you have a higher chance to being, let's say, on this side, versus if you're born on a different part of the world and the influence, let's say, the culture is shifted on the other side, right? More than likely, the probability of you being on this side is much greater. Therefore, you're either going to be on this side or this side, depending on your environment, because your environment, right, plays a huge part in your development. So the reason as to why I bring this up, and I know let me tie it in quickly to gaslighting. So let's look at what gaslighting is, right? Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where someone is made to doubt their own perception, reality, and sanity, often through denial, distortion, and minimization of their experience, right? So please you can Google it yourself, but here are some examples. Denying events or conversations, okay? Questioning someone's memory, minimizing or dismissing emotions, projecting and blame. Okay, so keep this in mind, what gaslighting is, okay? Now I'm going to turn the camera this way really quickly, and I'm going to talk about an issue, and I'm going to try to paint a quick picture so that people can kind of understand things from a different perspective, okay? Now, let me show you. These are the statistics for the ASWB exam, okay? Now, this is the first time pass rate. Now, the average pass rate for Caucasians, right, was 83%. And actually for Black individuals, it's 45%. And I will include this report, okay? White test takers were 83% versus Black test takers. But see, the issue why I have an issue with this, because due to, like I said, history, systemic racism that still occurs, and trauma and how it affects the brain, right? We understand community. Most individuals, right, who have, like, let's just say even hair, this texture, would prefer to go to individuals that have experience with textured hair. Because if not, whether you're coloring it, cutting it, whatever, you can mess up the hair because you lack the experience. Now, also understand within the community, there are different ways of doing things, looking at things, and going about life, right? You know, one, we know that no one truly knows you. As a matter of fact, most people don't really know themselves. You have to walk a day in life in someone's shoes. But how much more if you're not even inside a particular community? So what am I really saying? The reason why I'm saying that this is an issue, it's an issue because it doesn't take into account a bunch of different factors, such as systematic racism, which, again, I did highlight in my playlist. But how does that relate to the clinical exam per se? Well, I went and I took the test and I looked at the questions, right? During this time, I was studying 5 different languages because I felt called to do that. And it gave me a better insight and understanding of languages. And the reason why I say the test functions as a literacy exam, one reason is this. What difference does the test make for a clinical therapist? Absolutely no different, other than the fact that now they are licensed, they get paid more, and now they are no longer having to work under the license of a supervisor. I mean, there are other regulations, with codes and all that. But what it all boils down to, as far as who you are as a therapist, meaning what makes a good therapist. So meaning, are you telling me a person who left their mother's home, went to school for 4 years, and depending on whatever state you went to, right, you collected your hours within the certain time frame and you took your exam, you're telling me that they're more qualified? And let's just say they're not even melanated being. According to this, let's say they passed on their first time and they're Caucasian. You're telling me that that person has more experience than a person, let's say an older melanated, let's say Black woman, who's been in the field, who has people coming back and telling their thank you, right? Who's been in the field more than this person has been alive. And yet they can't even pass this exam. Mind you, there are so many other factors, such as when I went to go take the exam at one of their testing sites that they are no longer doing business with, and I told them how the businesses practices were, that they had established a contract to conduct to conduct tests, right? It's like you can't just do business with everybody. You have to make sure, you have to do your due diligence, meaning, for instance, you're allowing special accommodations. Okay, well, how close are the people who are special accommodations, how close are they sitting next to the individuals who do not have special accommodations? Because that can throw other things off. Also, too, why are their business practices, meaning their business hours and all that. All those things you have to make sure you do your due diligence. Anyways, continue on. But what their response to me was, I could have rescheduled. Now, say, for example, you don't know what my schedule is. You don't know if I had to take the bus or if I needed babysitter or if I took the day off. Like most of us have jobs to do, especially with, our salary, right? And then, so what I'm saying is, right, to even be able to reschedule, right, can be considered a privilege. And that's what I was trying to also get at. So the point that I'm trying to make, because going back to what I first showed you at that picture, I read the sentence. That sentence means this. And as a matter of fact, depending on who you're talking to, community, it can mean this for majority of this particular community versus a particular community that's outside the community, but because it's meant, they say it this way, right? Now, understand, right? I saw that, English is the established language, right? But this is a clinical exam to give certain individuals a title and also increase in pay, but also provide services to particular communities. This relates to social services. This is welfare. This is people's mental health. This is relates to children. This relates to human trafficking, homelessness. These are so many problems. And so to play games, meaning to allow this to continue on when in fact you would still allow an individual who you believe is not able to be looked at as a professional, therefore you would allow them to be tapped into someone's mental mind. That is one of the most sacred places, because that's where the Lord should dwell. And I'm out.